Yeah, we're making progress digging the hole. Now we're digging up a whole new hole. It's Chrono.
All right. Well, it's no secret. The Chrono series, specifically Chrono Trigger, is my favorite game ever. I'm actually replaying the one that you guys got me for the trip, and I plan to to attempt to retire it. Although we'll see how that goes. I'm hoping to get all the endings and just kind of max out the levels and be happy with it. And I'm blistering through that game. It's crazy how fast you can just destroy it. Um, but with the Chrono Cross remaster coming out, well, it's come out, and people seem to be pretty excited about the Chrono series at the moment. Hopefully that lasts. Hopefully Chrono Cross doesn't kill that. There is some talk, and there's nothing official, but it'd be fun to talk about a Chrono Trigger remake. Now, having beaten Chrono Trigger twice, I believe, you're also in pretty good standing to talk about this. What would you hope for in a Chrono Trigger remake? Would you want like a complete overhaul, or do you just want quality of life? What are you into?
See, the thing is, like, when Final Fantasy VII Remake came out, I didn't care. I think what turned me off was that it reeked of things like microtransaction and paying for chapters, and I was just that to me is like we don't need to introduce that into series that we love. To me, it's more a fear of like ruining something that is so iconic and beloved. Didn't even necessarily have the biggest attachment to Final Fantasy VII, but the whole thing about that made me care even less.
Hmm. Um,
Don't know. Like, I mean, I just want like a strong, consistent single player adventure. I mean, I'm interested to hear your take, and then we can kind of bounce off that too.
it's funny you brought up Final Fantasy because I would actually go towards that. I really don't think they can top the turn-based system that they had in Chrono Trigger. To me, that is like the perfect turn-based system, especially when you do active. It's fast paced. It feels once you get into it, to me, it feels very intuitive and feels like you're moving. Feels like you're active, even though technically it is turn based. But it's so tense and the timing is perfect. And to me, that I don't know that I want them to try to reinvent that, nor do I think they want to reinvent that. So I would be totally cool with them going for another action based RPG. Now I don't think they have to do it the same way they did Final Fantasy, nor would they. I think it would probably end up something like the Sword of Mana updates, where they're a little bit lower budget, and I'm cool with that. That's fine. I know the Chrono series isn't as big as Final Fantasy, so why spend hundreds of millions or however much Final Fantasy cost them? Uh, but I would like to see them make it an action RPG, and I think the characters make a lot of sense. You got two sword users, a couple ranged users. You got a robot. You got a melee in Ayla. You got whatever the hell Magus would be. I don't know. That would be kind of cool. But I think there's a lot of opportunity for that.
I need to ask a clarifying question. Are you desiring for a new installment or like a new branch-off series that's not Chrono but has that like that style, or are you asking for a remake of the story of Chrono Trigger in the action RPG style, or are you asking for a Chrono Trigger, an official Chrono Trigger 2?
No, definitely not an official Chrono Trigger 2. Um, I think a remake of the original story of Chrono Trigger. I don't think Chrono Trigger at this point, with Chrono Cross being canon, I don't think that's feasible at this point. I take that completely off the table. As much as I would like to see Magus' story play out and something happen there, maybe he's the main character or something, that would be kind of cool. But with Chrono Cross being in existence, it's too much. It's not anything I want them to explore. I just if they wanted to with a remake of Chrono Trigger, the actual story there, I think they could create more opportunities for a sequel and maybe be like, okay, Chrono Cross isn't in this universe. We can try again and we can make something great. And maybe we do make a Chrono Cross, but and we'll get into that later. But make it a little bit better and tie into the story smarter. But as it stands, I don't want a Chrono Trigger 2. Do you?
I don't care. It's fine to me either way. I do think Chrono Cross complicates things, and I mean, if we're kind of transitioning into like the Chrono Cross remaster, we could do that officially, but like I think technically the remaster of Chrono Cross is impressive. I don't know how much it really alters or changes, or I mean, clearly Chrono Cross needed some of that overhaul, which I mean we could talk about, but
Mm-hmm.
Chrono Trigger doesn't exactly. But like the question to me is remake, remaster, what? Because we like the original combat style. I don't think it needs like
Mm-mm.
massive changes. I think like just some beautification there would be nice. Um, I don't know. I don't have a great answer for it.
Hmm. Yeah, I just think Chrono Trigger is too. I just don't see a way to make it better until you're just gonna at a certain point you're gonna be like, okay, we're doing all this effort, let's just remake it and make something different. And I'd be all for it because there's no, you don't need to take Chrono Trigger and be like, let's. To me, it'd be like, let's make the graphics nicer. I guess you could. It looks really pretty. Like it's like a poster child for what you can do with 16-bit graphics. I just think you might as well just remake it from the ground up and have it be its own thing, kind of like Final Fantasy VII. That's they're basically two different games, although they share elements.
I think too is like Chrono Trigger has been available to play for quite some time, and I think like the Steam port has really amplified that. But we also got the DS port. There was also the Super Nintendo version. People pirate, you
Mm-hmm.
know. It is kind of shocking that Chrono Cross has become so accessible, but we still can't seem to play Chrono Trigger on like Nintendo consoles. I don't know. Maybe it
Yeah,
was downloadable at some point, but
what's with that? It's so
I don't know.
random.
Question mark.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Chrono Cross?